Super Bowl 58 Sunday. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. I don't come on Sundays very often, but when the situation presents itself, whether I'm doing Professor and the Pupil or an occasional fire up show, I don't miss opportunities when they present themselves. With that said, I want to give everybody an overview of what we're going to talk about today, and then introduce the crew. We're just going to simply give you a lot of interesting Super Bowl facts that you may or may not have heard of for sure. So, you know what? Get your pen and papers out. If you don't want to do that, listen to it off as often as you want, and then we will go from there. So, with that said, this show is going to be loaded with facts. Nothing else more to say, and we welcome your input in the chat room as well. And we're assigning Candy Ebling to go out there and read everything in the chat. So, with that said, I want to welcome Candy Ebling to the show. She normally does it on Sunday with Jeremy, but she's got company today. Welcome to the Super Bowl edition, Candy.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for being the host today, the hostess with the mostest today.
Well, my pleasure. You know, I've covered 4 Super Bowls in person and been to 4 games and been a part of 8 of them. So, you know, to me, it's been pretty neat. I think, yeah, actually 8 of them. But I am looking forward to going back next year in New Orleans. I'm chomping at the bit to get out there, and that's what the plan is. All right, with that said, my partner on a lot of different shows, Jacob Christner. Happy Sunday, Jacob.
Thank you very much. And I can say this. I think after all this time, this is my first fire up. So that's kind of cool.
Well, you know, the one thing that's vitally important in this show is you got to be able to go out there and be versatile. And welcome to the Versatile Club. I know you're always on the Sports Exchange with me. We do Pundits Pundit. And where else I plug in, Jeremy Bulrick has certainly gotten a taste of what versatility is like. Right, Jeremy?
Okay.
Right. Okay. Well, all right. Go out there and give me the okay.
Yeah. I didn't know how else to respond. You know, I just been blessed.
There you go. It's okay. Sunday, it's always good to be blessed, but on Sunday you better be blessed because you know there's a higher authority that's going to wants to make sure that we're all blessed if we're doing the right thing, and everybody can learn. Go ahead.
It's better to be blessed than cursed.
Yeah, well, I'm not touching that one if you're in the Detroit area. So, you know, you don't get many no comments, but Candy found a way to drum one out of me this time. And I think for everybody watching, listening all over the planet here, you'll understand no comments are rare for me. All right. With that said, I promise you all a lot of facts, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And we'll start with the Michigan Wolverines, who have had the most players play in the Super Bowl with 130. With that said, I also want to point out that Chad Henne played as a backup quarterback to Patrick Mahomes. And if that isn't good enough, Tom Brady's only won 6 of these games. So with that said, okay, and you never know if we might see Dylan McCaffrey, who's related to Christian McCaffrey, at a later date. And all Dylan McCaffrey is lead Michigan to the national title. With that said, Candy, some thoughts about those.
I think it's interesting. I think it's really interesting that Michigan's had 130. It'd be interesting to go through some of the other colleges, but I don't have those stats right here. But I'll give you stats later on during the program, so wait for those.
Yeah, I know you'll have a lot of good ones. We talked about that when we ate lunch today. All right, Jacob.
Well, you brought up Chad Henne, and I mean, he is a perfect thing for this subject. The first thing I think about is when I say coach matters every time, scheme matters every time. Remember when Patrick Mahomes went out? Here comes Chad Henne with about 92 yards to drive. It starts on about the 8, touchdown, right down the field, and then they bring Mahomes back in, and it's like it just shows completely scheme, everything, something like that. You had a backup right there, and it just shows the difference between some teams, players, coach, everything. It all has to mesh.
Jeremy?
Well, 130 players. It doesn't say 130 individuals. So 10 of those are Tom Brady, and 3 of them are Chad Henne.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And let's not forget that the only national championship his earning ring his senior year, and Super Bowl earning a ring as a backup his rookie year is Brian Greasy.
Well, we'll be talking to Brian Greasy in a moment. In fact, we're going to talk about him now. Okay, let's talk about a very interesting number here. The Denver Broncos. Here's a common thing between the Broncos and the 49ers. The Broncos had Mike Shanahan win a Super Bowl, Ed McCaffrey, wide receiver, in the Super Bowl as well, Ryan Greasy and Anthony Lynn. And we'll talk about San Francisco head coach Kyle Shanahan, Christian McCaffrey, my goodness, who's, by the way, this year's MVP, offensive MVP, Brian Greasy, as Jeremy Ballrick has mentioned, and we also have Anthony Lynn. So you've got the commonality again, and I'll repeat it again. You have Mike Shanahan, Ed McCaffrey, Brian Greasy, and Anthony Lynn. So we have running backs here. And now for this year's San Francisco club, you got, we're trading one Shanahan for another as far as head coach. Christian McCaffrey is your running back. Brian Greasy is your quarterback coach for the quarterback. And Anthony Lynn, who, by the way, who was a running back and is now the running backs coach and assistant head coach. If you can get all of that, listen to the show again. All right. So with that said, okay, Jeremy, let the cat out of the bag with Brian Greasy. There you go. There's some common stats.
It may be common stats, but like I said, he is the only NFL player in history to earn an NFL or a NCAA national championship ring his senior year,
right?
Get drafted, and earn a Super Bowl ring in that same 12-month period.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
So you look at how long the NFL's been around, and I think at that time it was, well, let's see, if 98 was that, and 2020 or 2023 was 100 years.
Right.
Subtract 15 years, that was 85 years of the NFL. So 85 different world championship winners, because the Super Bowl is just the nickname of the world championships, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, but let me also point out to you another guy who people should, when they go back in the history books, what about Tony Dorsett, who did win a national championship at Pittsburgh, and he won one with the Dallas Cowboys. So just want to mention that. Now, whether they were done in that period of time is another story. But there's a commonality where the Cowboys and the Panthers had something in common, and Tony Dorsett indeed did that. That's all. I'm just mentioning.
There's been about 38 players that have won the national championship and won a Super Bowl in the history of the NFL. There's only one that did it his rookie year.
Exactly. Well, no, so I told everybody that we're going to hit this thing hard with facts wherever they come from, so it doesn't matter. People will learn from this show, and we encourage comments in the chat room as well. So, yeah, I mean, this is a show where we're not going to preview game. We're not going to do everything that every single outlet on there is doing that. We're making sure you're loaded with information. If you're hungry for a baked potato, we're going to make sure your baked potato has all kinds of sour cream on there, cheese. I better keep my mouth shut because I just got done eating. I don't want to get hungry again. So with that said, Jacob,
think about this for a second. If Tom Brady doesn't exist, we're talking about Brian Greasy as one of the greatest Michigan quarterbacks. We really are, because 83 career starts, near 20,000 yards. Basically he had a good ratio of TDs and interceptions. Didn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He had a year with 10 starts and near 70% passing at a time where they didn't have all the protections of the wide receiver. So think about this. He would be up there for the team. Not to say he'd be the greatest quarterback all time, just say from Michigan. If Tom Brady doesn't exist, he'd be a top 3 to 5. He just really would. But Tom Brady kind of takes everybody's power. They takes their thing away. He's going to take either way. But I'm happy for Greasy because he was also a Bear. He did pretty good there. You know what I'm saying? He did pretty good in Chicago also. So I'm happy for him. And you know something? He does have those records, including what Jeremy said.
Well, let me tell you one thing what I like about Brian Greasy. When he left Monday Night Football because they couldn't figure out what they were doing with their crew, made a great decision going to the 49ers. He hadn't looked back since. So, ESPN's lost because they couldn't figure out what they were doing on Monday night. Turned out to be San Francisco's game for sure. So With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Candy. Well, give me your thoughts on this, and then he's going to go out there and provide a ton of facts.
We're getting an echo.
So Brian Greasy, that's an awesome accomplishment. I mean, I can't imagine in 12-month span winning both of them. As far as Michigan goes, obviously Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks that's ever come out of there. And Brian Greasy, it's a close second. Maybe you could even argue how close they might really be. But one of the interesting facts that's also going to happen at this Super Bowl that's never happened before is Terry Killens is to become the first person ever to play and officiate in the Super Bowl. That's never been done before. I thought that was kind of interesting to play and now officiate in a Super Bowl. There are all kinds of other interesting stats that we could bring up. Question, guys. Franchises that have met multiple times in a Super Bowl. Can you guess who has met multiple times in Super Bowls? Jacob.
Who's met multiple the teams that have met multiple times?
Teams. Yep.
Let's see. You obviously have the Chiefs and the Niners.
Okay. Yep.
You have the Chiefs and the Niners. You've got that goes without saying. You've got geez, that is a let's see. Trying to think a second. No, tell me.
Jeremy?
I almost want to say it's Pittsburgh and Dallas.
It's a good one.
That's a good one.
A really good one. I looked at that. It was almost unbelievable. The first time Dallas won 21-17, and then they followed it up with a 35-31 win as well. They were a really tightly contested game. I like that one.
So Pittsburgh and Dallas have actually met 3 times. Washington and the Dolphins have met twice. The Bengals, 49ers twice. The Bills, Dallas twice. New England, the Giants twice. New England, Philadelphia twice. New England, LA Rams twice. And then, of course, Kansas City, San Francisco twice.
Well, you know darn good and well that the no questions asked that the NFL wants the Commanders and Dolphins, so it's not the Redskins Dolphins anymore. So they can actually do it. You know what I mean? Because right now it's just sort of clashing and making people mad. If the Commanders make the Super Bowl, no one's going to say anything. They're not going to. It's a different generation.
Well, Jacob, who's to say the Commanders are going to be the Commanders anymore? For all we know, Washington might want to go back to Redskins. They don't care.
Yeah, that's true. And which I mean, I wouldn't complain, but I get you mean.
It's funny
you got Dan Snyder out of there. Go ahead, Jeremy.
It's funny you bring that up because the new ownership plus the Native American Tribal Council has put a petition to have the Redskins name restored.
Here's the deal, Jeremy. They didn't want Dan Snyder to be a part of it. And if new ownership says the Redskins are okay, let me tell you, they're going to go back to it. Dan Snyder tried diligently to go ahead and keep it, but they simply hated him. They wouldn't give him a new stadium or anything. Let me tell you, the Washington Commanders are going to be the Washington Redskins in no time. And I'm glad you brought that up, Jeremy, because it's all about Daniel Snyder now that he's out of the picture. And if you add Magic Johnson to the picture, Redskins will be the Redskins in due time. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I do have an interesting thing of note. When it becomes to individual players, not players that have played in repeated Super Bowls, University of Michigan is 5th. Number 1 is University of Miami with 117. Number 2 is USC with 111. Number 3 is Penn State with 103. And kudos to Mel Farr Jr. and his alma mater. Isn't that UCLA?
Correct.
102 and Michigan with 99.
Okay. Well, it's all right again.
But when you're talking about, like I said, you got Tom Brady with 10 and Chad Henne with 3 right off the rip.
Right.
13 of them.
Well, I realize my vision is bad, but I know one thing. When I see 130 U of M, 130. Now, we all know we can stats or whatever you want to make them to be, Jeremy. I mean, if you're a journalist, you understand that anyway, right, Jeremy? You've come a long way from your first days here with the Tribune.
That's why I immediately went to the research, sir.
That's okay. And no, you are expected to call me boss like they do on NCIS with Mark Harmon and the rest of his people. Don't forget that. Okay, Mr. Ballrick, but that's okay.
Okay, Chief.
Okay. What's that?
Okay, Chief. I'll go Jimmy Wilson.
No. You go like the old cartoon back in the day. Okay, Dookie.
Yeah, you know
They
what?
call me Dookie. Okay, Dookie.
I gotta tell you, I have to say something about Jeremy and Jacob though. First time I've actually brought you guys, I think, on a show like this, and these two guys are my prized pupils. They really are. Yeah,
He's got more gray hair. Well, maybe not.
I don't
What are
know.
you talking about? I have no hair.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
well,
true.
it's
That's
okay. Yeah, well, the John Deere hit Jeremy's head. That's okay, but at any rate,
Wait, you got more gray hair.
yeah. But getting back to the Redskins situation, by the way, Anthony Bianchi put a nice guest out there, the Cowboys and the Bills. Good job, Anthony. Hope you have a great Super Bowl Sunday. So, you know, the Redskins are going to be back. It was a Daniel Snyder thing. It isn't going to be about the new regime. And I don't know. And let me tell you, the NFL would love nothing better than to have the Redskins
Well,
back.
we're gonna have pandering simps like Keith Law say, "Oh, I don't want to say the name Braves," you know, and all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna have those kind of writers. But in the end, it's gonna be. I mean, the fans are gonna get their way. It's just this.
Here's what it really breaks down to. Okay, if the Washington Redskins win, it wouldn't matter what they're being called under that name because Joe Gibbs is unquestionably the best coach in that franchise's history. George Allen coached guys his age, so to speak, the over the hill gang, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter who's in charge. But good stuff. I like having a debate about the Redskins. I never believed that they should have gone ahead and changed the name, but it was all about Daniel Snyder, a guy who went out there and charged that fan base to attend training camp. If you couldn't see a red flag at the beginning with this guy, then tell me what a red flag is. And I must have went stupid the other day. All right, so good stuff. All right, Candy, you got some other good ones, and some of these might end up turning into debates. You never know. Good stuff.
Okay, so this one isn't one that's going to be a debate, but so the Chiefs, this is the 6th time they've appeared in a Super Bowl. San Francisco, this is the 8th time. So my question to you, the panel, how many franchises have never won a Super Bowl?
And I'm excluded from that.
I would say 4 or 5. Jaguars be one. Texans would be another. Lions. Let's see. And get me the other 2.
Oh, let me see. I'm going to say Jaguars, Texans, Lions, Browns, Bills, and Vikings. So 6.
Oh, okay.
There's actually 12
12.
that have never won.
The old days?
That have never
That
won.
never won. There's other ones that have played and lost, but
Cincinnati.
Cleveland, Panthers, Falcons.
I forgot Panthers played in it. That's the ones that have. Yeah. Okay.
Now that's where it gets tricky. Okay.
It is.
I know. This is what you would see on a state exam if you were studying for one, where all it takes is that slight little word that can throw you off. Don't I know? I've taken enough state exams. Called a trick question. Go ahead, Candy.
It is, but you know, I got to throw in these once in a while. You know, I mean, that makes it fun, right?
Oh yeah, no question.
What is it? 7 or 8? You said 12.
12 that have not won.
Oh, have not won. Other than that, who haven't. Come on.
Right.
Jeremy, the word's not one. Okay.
Okay. So
go ahead.
One more question. What team is the only team to play in 4 Super Bowls but never held a lead?
Would that be the Vikings?
Yeah. That would be my guess.
Very good, Jacob. Ding, 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 ding. Right. Oh.
Yeah.
And if you want to throw a Buffalo Bills nugget in there, they went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost them all.
I think they had a couple leads though.
Yeah, they had.
I just said they went to 4 straight and lost them all. I didn't say whether they had a lead. That wasn't part of it, Jacob.
They even had a lead when they ended up losing wide right.
Uh-huh.
Right. All right. Well,
from Tyler Bass. Oh, I mean Norwood.
Now, let me mention a couple things here before we go any further. Just so you know, that Fire Up is being broadcast around the world The audio version of Fire Up can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We are striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Comment in the chat room is one way to do it, or send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise competitionally, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. Today she's on the air, and she's a mastermind behind a lot of websites. Good stuff, Candy. Also, I have a book out there called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Talks about old school media versus new school media. It is available on Kindle and Amazon. Plus, the South Florida Tribune does have a working agreement to work with NGBN TV. And this partnership has a potential, will actually we'll work with Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, and mobile devices. Of course, the partnership that will coincide with Sideline Sports. It'll also be in 85% of the homes in the United States and Canada, and 4.1 billion mobile devices. Want to get that promo in. Again, my book that I have out there is one that anybody can go out there and read. I don't care what's new to the business or whether you're just looking to get an idea how the business works. My book, Lessons from the Microphone, should enable you to do that. So with that said, anything else you want to add, Candy?
Oh, I'm just getting started.
Keep
So
going.
let me ask you guys, the very first Super Bowl ticket in 1967 cost how much?
I'd say $10.
Jeremy?
25. That's my guess.
Scott, do you have a guess or do you know?
No, I'm not going to even venture a guess on this.
He was there. Don't you know?
Yeah, well, you know what? I might as well just say, I'll go out there and say $10.
The cost was $12. So
Cool.
now, fast forward to now, does anybody know what the cost of a ticket is?
$9,000. $9,000.
Ooh, let me go here. They said that if the Lions would have made the Super Bowl, the cost was between $7,000 and $11,000. And when they didn't win and it became the 49ers, the price dropped by 25%. So that means it's between $4,000 and $7,000.
You know, for some reason, I knew you were going to throw that Lions fact, and I couldn't agree with you more. The Lions would have been the better draw. So all we can hope for now is that they get to New Orleans. That'll be a party like no ever on Bourbon Street.
So the average cost of a ticket to the past 5 Super Bowls was $6,680. The lowest price of a Super Bowl ticket on the resale market after the conference championships was $8,586. There is a $1.1 billion estimated economic impact for the Southern Nevada economy in 2024. There is approximately 16.2 million Americans plan to watch the game at a bar or a restaurant. And it's 192% 20-year increase in the cost of a 30-second Super Bowl ad. Now, as far as the Super Bowl ads, and I have to throw this out there because I put this out on Facebook. 7 seconds cost you $30 million. It's the same that the Jets paid for Aaron Rodgers this year. But I'm bummed.
He can make a comeback unless he gets injured again.
I agree. They expect 71,835 fans at the game. And then here was some interesting, I thought. Do you know what the highest price was paid for a Super Bowl ticket?
$25,000.
$175,000.
$40,000.
I was closer. I'm going up to Bob Barker.
No, I saw one that went on after. Maybe you're talking retail, but I'm talking. I know that there was one that was sold on StubHub because they did a big article for it for $175,000.
Wow. So here's for all of you people that like to let's see. eat during the Super Bowl because that's what else do people do? 1.45 billion chicken wings will be eaten. 10 million pounds of ribs will be sold this week. 11.3 million pounds of potato chips. 250 million pounds of avocados will be purchased for guacamole. What there was? Oh, I wanted to. $1 billion will be spent on beer on Super Bowl Sunday. Not even what you bought yesterday or the day before. $1 billion will be spent on beer today. 517 million on soft drinks and 226 million on whiskey.
And
what's the cost of televisions that'll be busted? We'll see on Twitter. Yeah, when their team loses.
Average cost of the TV is about $450 because you got to take into the fact the bigger ones versus the smaller ones. So average cost is right about $450, $500. On an average, we see about 40 of those videos hit the internet. So $2,000.
So 40, 45 morons.
So you know what? I added to that chicken wings total when I got 20, 10 early and 10 later. So, and when you talk about the revenue for Vegas, so this Super Bowl is already paid for Allegiant Stadium. 1.9, what'd you say, Candy? $1.9 billion for that stadium. Is that correct? And if they get about $2 billion, then they're already in the black. They're going to lose money off it because they mission accomplished. And to make things even more interesting, now that everybody has seen how well Vegas can hold the Super Bowl, they're going to be in the rotation now.
Okay, without using your Google, I have a question for everybody.
Go ahead.
Who are the only two players to win a Super Bowl with two different teams?
Wow.
Brady. Tom Brady's one.
Definitely not Jackie Smith.
Keep going.
I'm working on it.
No Google.
What's that?
No Google. I'm just kidding.
I don't need Google. I've been around for.
Give us a hint. As the second person, what position did he play?
Running back. That just threw everybody off.
Running back.
I'll give you a bigger hint. He played for the same team that Tom Brady played for originally.
So the Patriots.
That narrows it down quite a bit. You know, you got it down to about 20.
Well, I was. Oh, if
Stanley
that's the case,
Wilson.
I would go Gronkowski.
No.
No, he's a running back. He said.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Tight end. All right, but Gronkowski has.
It's not James White.
Game-winning rushing touchdown for the Rams. Who came from because Cam Akers was hurt again.
Hi, Chris Rouleau. Look at her. The Gypsy Soldier went out there, and Chris Rouleau, Candy, put her up there. She's an amazing woman. We met her in Jacksonville. Goes by the Gypsy Soldier, and if there's anyone that lives up to that name, we are hoping to get her on a future edition of Motor City Mad Mouth Show. She'll be one colorful guest for sure when we do get Chris on here. Now, running back, I'm trying to think.
The answer is coming in 30 seconds. Should I start the Jeopardy tune?
Oh, I don't know. I need it. You guys keep hammering. I'm really working this.
You got me on this one, Jeremy. I got half of it. So
Sonny Michel.
Sony Michel. Okay, that's a great. I like that. Sony Michel. That's right. He was with the Patriots and won it for the Rams.
In consecutive years, if you remember right.
Well, hey, listen. Gronkowski did win it as a tight end, so wrong position, but great idea.
They said the only two, but what's funny is there's only been two players that were from a different team that did it on the same team too.
Right. Well,
the first team and then went to the same team and did it.
There's a guy out there though who has won couple that have won multiple Super Bowls. I believe Deion Sanders won them for the 49ers and the Cowboys, I believe, right?
Mhm.
Did he?
Talking
And then-
about from different teams. If you go from different teams to the same team,
Right. No, I know.
there's
But
only two. And one's a
I'm-
linebacker.
But I'm throwing a couple of other names. Charles Haley was a guy that, to me,
Cowboys.
yeah, he's one of the most unbelievable players. Wherever he goes, he wins.
Von Miller, linebacker.
Yeah, there's another one too.
And with Sonny Michel on the Rams the same year.
Right. So there you go. We're
Well,
throwing
there's-
facts
that's
at you.
trivia.
We're throwing facts at you, fast and furious. Good
But,
stuff,
wait.
Jeremy.
Let's see. After Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, the next year is when they added AB, wasn't it?
Antonio Brown. I believe you're right.
Yeah, because they added him in the offseason because their slot guy got hurt and they didn't re-sign him.
Right.
Boy, that story's just a tragedy almost. You know what I'm saying? AB?
Yeah, Vontaze Burfict did him no justice.
No.
Hi, Ralph. How you doing? Ralph appears on the Thursday
What's
edition.
up, Ralph?
Hey, Ralph.
What? Jeremy, George Icorn, and Candy. What else you got, Candy? Oh,
You're
you're-
Andy.
I didn't think you lost your voice, Candy, when you did, but that's okay.
Thank you.
Which two teams have 5 losses in the Super Bowl?
Can't be the Chargers. They've only been to one. Could one of them be the Cowboys?
Patriots wouldn't be one, would it? The Patriots.
Patriots
Okay.
are one.
Yeah, because they lost 2 to Eli, and then they lost another one to Philly, and then they
One
lost
to the Bears.
one to the Bears. One with Bledsoe too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's the other team?
It'd be Kansas City.
No.
Packers.
Broncos.
Broncos. What city has hosted the most Super Bowls?
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Oh,
Oh.
wow. LA.
Miami.
Miami has hosted 11. Next year, when New Orleans hosts their 11th, they'll be tied.
Oh, okay.
What else?
What is the oldest franchise in the NFL to never win a Super Bowl?
Lions.
Oh,
No, I think the Cleveland Browns or
No.
the Arizona Cardinals.
there it is.
Yeah, because it was the Chicago Cardinals first.
Started out with the Chicago Cardinals, which was actually established before the NFL was in 1896, and the NFL was formed in 1920.
And you think about it, they've had as many moves as the Oakland A's, right? When they start out in they started out Chicago, St. Louis, and now Arizona, unless there's a stop somewhere along the lines that I missed.
The Portsmouth, Ohio Spartans joined the NFL in 1930, which was 10 years after the Cardinals.
Right. Okay. We know about the Portsmouth team being the Lions' original destination, if I remember right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but the Cardinals have been in 3 places. You talk about Chicago, St. Louis, and now Arizona.
50 million adult Americans are likely to bet on the Super Bowl. $1.3 billion will be legally wagered on today's Super Bowl. That is up 20% from last year.
Wait till you see next year's.
Did you guys already see the logo colors?
Haven't
I have
looked
not.
that far ahead.
They're blue and gold.
Oh, are they?
Yep.
New Orleans?
No, I don't think so. It's the wrong color of blue.
I don't know. I'll start. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll start looking at logos soon enough, but not today. I struggle with Roman numerals, let alone logos.
Yeah, let's see. That's going to be 59, right?
Right. I think though for Super Bowl 50, they went with the actual 5-0. They did not go with the Roman numerals, if my memory serves me correctly. All right, chat room. Yeah, let's get this chat room going out here. You want to throw some facts at us? We'll put them up on your screen, and we'll even mention you as well. Keep rolling, Candy.
Let me see. Let me find another one. Let's see. Oh, we already said what team has the most Super Bowl appearances?
Let's see. Would that be the Patriots?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, what people have to understand about the Patriots, once upon a time, I believe Bill Parcells was the coach, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I know they've had other coaches before Belichick that got in there beforehand. I know Parcells.
Raymond Berry was the 85.
Yeah, he did get in there in '85, didn't he? A lot of people won't remember that. But that guys like Jacob that are from Illinois will, because that's when the Bears
I
won.
was 7 years old with that, so I still remembered.
Yeah, but at least one thing you have over Jeremy and I, you saw the Bears win a Super Bowl. The last time the Lions won an NFL championship was on my birthday, December 29th, 1957.
I'm happy to say the Lions played into the end of January. We played 6 games in a season. That's never been done by any Lions team in history. Because you know why? There was never this many games as there has been the last 3 years.
I was at the age where I had to go to bed at halftime because they were blowing them away.
Let that be the worst of your problems. You know where I was for that game? I was actually a student at University of South Florida, and we were watching the game over in the, where the student area where we all got the living room or dining room or whatever you want to call it out there, the TV watching area. It's pretty good the way the Bears hammered them. I mean, the only thing I wish would have happened, I think everybody has probably talked about it, is I think there's one regret that Mike Ditka probably has, is that Walter Payton did not get a touchdown and William the Perry.
That was an ego thing by Ditka because he probably thought they were coming back. He probably didn't see. Payton retiring like a couple years later. He probably thought all of those things, and it wasn't even the run. He also had a screen pass that had all the open field, like 30, 40, 50 yards open field, that was thrown so badly it made the dancer Walter Payton trip.
Well, call it whatever you want, but bottom line is Walter Payton should have gotten a touchdown in that game.
He should have, but those are the things.
Justify it any way you want, Christner. It doesn't matter. Payton should have gotten a touchdown.
No justification. I was like, people forget that it's never brought up. They're bringing up the 1 yard line and Perry. It was like that. That's one thing, but it's another, and it wasn't even Payton's fault. It shows if Jim McMahon was in that game to throw that screen, he's got a touchdown probably, because that was a terrible screen pass by Fuller.
Right, I agree. And yet, Jim McMahon, while the Bears are going through all their quarterback debates, whether you should keep Justin Fields or go over the next bust in the NFL, Caleb Williams, because he will be a bust. Okay,
Jim Mr. McMahon, Dress Boy. His dress will be a bust also.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but we'll just keep it where we're at here. Jim McMahon to me is unquestionably one of the best quarterbacks that the Bears have ever had. Now, I think what a lot of people really have to realize is he didn't like Pete Rozelle, so when he had his headband, he put Rozelle on it. Here's the guy who's a rebel with a cause. Gotta love Jim McMahon for that.
Oh, really? I love McMahon. McMahon was one of the smartest. 25 straight wins on the regular season. One of the smartest quarterbacks. People did not see it because he's such a rebel, but he's a very smart quarterback.
Well, going to Brigham Young, you can't be stupid going there. They've got a lot of intelligent quarterbacks. Steve Young was one of those that came out of there. So Jim McMahon, Steve Young, the list goes on and on. I'm trying to think that they
Ty Detmer, right?
Yeah, Ty Detmer was the guy I was thinking about too. Now they produce a lot of very intelligent quarterbacks at BYU. I mean, my last recollection of BYU was when they smoked Central Florida. Boca Raton Bowl, and Zach Wilson looked good. Not going to talk about what he looks nowadays.
Well, the air raid, I'm just saying, though, the air raid offense helped. It's like it was a very state of the art for the day.
What else you got, Candy? This is so much fun being able to educate, and Candy's done an incredible job here doing that.
So, how many countries do you think the Super Bowl is broadcast in, and in how many different languages?
I'm going to say 30 different languages, and I'm going to say over 190 countries.
34 languages and 100 countries, 180 countries.
Okay.
Sorry.
Jacob, you're right there. Look at this guy.
He was very close.
Thankful I would have given it the over his number, but I'm glad that Jacob got it right on the first one. Go ahead.
Super Bowl Sunday is the second biggest eating day of the year. What's the first?
Thanksgiving.
What is it?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
Or it's Jeremy's Day, Lions football on a Sunday.
Well, hey, listen, we talked periodically about the Lions. They're on Thanksgiving. They're contributing to the calorie count.
All the time.
Exactly. For a lot of years, when nobody wanted that game, the Lions and the Cowboys took it. And many years ago, when I was in Arizona, I talked to Jerry Jones about it when Kansas City didn't think they should get him. And if anybody knows how powerful Jerry Jones is, Detroit and us aren't giving it up, then what ended up happening was a prime time game. Go ahead, Candy.
There are 150 Super Bowl rings created for each winning franchise to dole out. Each edition of the rings is unique, designed by the owner. The rings for the 2022 Super Bowl champ, Los Angeles Rams, have a removable top that reveals pieces of the actual game ball in them.
That's pretty cool. I got my nephew, and they're doing those removable top things. I got my nephew a little replica Braves ring for his Christmas, and it's a removable top showing little things. It wasn't a piece of baseball, but.
Yeah, but you know what? There's become a trend recently in sports where a lot of teams are doing it from different leagues. They really are. I've seen it now, and you work that hard to get a Super Bowl, you might as well do it. Now, the one thing I will say about the Super Bowl, which I'm really impressed with, is the San Francisco 49ers have invited all their employers to go to the Super Bowl, and that to me is classy. It really is. The 49ers have always been a class organization over the years, but when you take all your employees, including interns, to go to this game, to me, that is championship material for the Niners. More power to them. And by the way, does anybody know where the 49ers won their first Super Bowl?
Let's see. The first one would have been would it be Miami?
Nope. You had your guess. What about you, Jeremy?
Chicago.
No.
Isn't it cold? Oh.
Nope. Their first Super Candy, do you know without researching it? Okay, because the 49ers actually won their first Super Bowl at the Pontiac Silverdome, Super Bowl 16, when Joe Montana, the Cincinnati Bengals. And you would see that matchup again later, I believe, in Miami. And we all know the catch from Montana to Dwight Clark, called by the legendary Vin Scully, put a lot of people in immortality. So, yeah, the 49ers won it over Super Bowl 16 in Detroit. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, bringing up Chicago, though, the 49ers completely shocked the world in 89, if you could say. By going into 4 below 0 and absolutely destroying the Bears.
Yeah, well, again, when you look at a lot of these things, we all know Super Bowl I, the Green Bay Packers ended up beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Bart Starr, obviously, and the Packers ended up, I think, winning the first 2 Super Bowls, if I remember right. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we know that the Kansas City Chiefs got into the victory parade. I believe they beat the Minnesota Vikings, if my memory serves me correctly, and a guy by the name of Len Dawson was a quarterback, and he subsequently went on to be a broadcaster in the Kansas City area. Then again, if you're a great football player in a smaller town, Miami was for a long time until it exploded, your football players become television commentators, and nobody has a problem with them. We have a couple of them here in Miami: Jimmy Cefalo, Joe Rose, just to name a couple of them that have done real well.
Oh yeah.
Kim Bohannon is another one here in Miami that's considered, top notch on the area. I've seen these guys. I've met them one time here and there, but not often.
I'll tell you this though, it's like just thinking about that. The only reason I thought Miami for that first game whatsoever is because of that second game. I think that's why I thought of Miami that first time.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Which Super Bowl was it that two brothers coached against each other?
Harbaugh's. San Francisco, Baltimore.
Yep, San Francisco, Baltimore. I believe that was their last Super Bowl they won was 2005.
2013.
13.
Wow. I know it was the blackout Super Bowl.
Oh, what do you mean? Talking about like the people in the stands, or?
No, the Super Bowl literally had a 30-minute delay because there was a blackout in the middle of the third quarter. San Francisco was winning that game, and there was a blackout, and they come back, and the Baltimore Ravens come back and win. I think there was like 10 minutes left in the third quarter at the time when the blackout happened.
Isn't that the craziest thing? Just some things like that happen, like the rain delay for the Cubs in Game 7.
Yeah.
And all the momentum's coming to the Indians, and then all of a sudden the rain delay. And it's like you get a blackout like that. I mean, things just happen like that sometimes.
Well, here's an interesting thing that I brought up on Wednesday night. We know Joe Montana played for the 49ers. I was actually at Joe Montana's final regular season game when they beat the Lions 24-3 over at Candlestick Park on the night before my 30th birthday, and he wore the number 16. But you know what? When he went to Kansas City, because Len Dawson's number was retired, he had to take the 16 and turn it around, and he was number 19 there, and he did take the Chiefs all the way to the AFC Championship game, but couldn't come away with another ring.
He looked. There's a lot of players that switch. Like you've heard of it with Joe Namath went to the Rams. You hear San Francisco 49ers for O.J. Simpson. You hear of those. Joe Montana, outside of Brady, we obviously have his Super Bowl. Joe Montana might be one of the best to play the switch teams, get older, and still have results.
Yeah, we all know. Very few people really understand that Joe Montana was 4 wins and no losses in the Super Bowl. So
yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing I think about is like there are a lot of players that like you think of Emmitt Smith and what he was doing with the Cardinals. He broke the record, but
all right, we got about 7 minutes to go here. Candy, what else do you have?
Oh, let's see. You got me. What is the oldest NFL stadium?
Lambeau.
Soldier Field.
I thought Soldier Field was the oldest.
Oh, that's right, because it wasn't Lambeau till later. Then they played it. Yeah, that's right. Because it'd be like 71 they played Soldier, right?
Right, you're old stuff around, Jacob.
It opened in Soldier Field opened in 1924.
Yeah, the Bears played Wrigley Field for ages, though.
Yep. It has been the Bears Stadium. Okay, yes. It opened in and has been the Chicago Bears Stadium since 1971. It is by far the NFL's oldest stadium. What is the oldest NFL logo?
Oh, jeez. Browns? Because it's the same.
They don't really have a logo, but
yeah, I could say the Bears.
Any other guesses, guys?
Packers.
You know what? I think it's either between the Packers or the Steelers.
The Arizona Cardinals currently have the oldest NFL logo still in use today, as the Cardinals logo, as we know it, was made in 1901.
That's true, because then they were in St. Louis.
I'll just say this: the bid walls don't change anything except locations, and I think they settled down with the final one. Arizona's going to for the Cardinals. I'm glad that they found a place. And Candy and I had a chance to tour that stadium. It was really beautiful. In fact, few people have realized that Allegiant Stadium, their design was mainly predicated off of the Cardinals, where you have that movable field that goes outside back and forth. And I can imagine that there were a lot of similarities between those two venues. I think they're called State Farm Stadium. I'm not actually sure, but I'm almost certain.
I still miss being very honest. I still miss the Cardinals in Busch Stadium. You know, I still miss that.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. It really was. A guy that I spent over at the Citadel, Dan Deerdorf, played for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Dan, one of the nicest people I ever meet.
Oh, no, it's like, but he also had Deerdorf's the restaurant too, so I can imagine how many stories were there. You know.
Well, I like I said, I covered Michigan football, and Dan did, along with Jim Brandstetter, went out there and did games, and I had a chance. It was unbelievable. Dan, I took a photo with Dan, and here's a guy that just doesn't get enough credit because he never really won any championships. But mark my word, anybody that knows anything about pro football history will tell you right now that was unbelievable. I do want to make one special note that we mentioned on Wednesday Sports Exchange, or no, it was actually Pundit's Pundit. Excuse me. I am really glad that Steve McMichael did get into the Hall of Fame. If there was ever a person that belonged there, Steve McMichael definitely did. Any thoughts, Jeremy? I've been seeing you quiet in a long time. I didn't know if you lost your voice or whether you're in the twilight zone.
Just been waiting for something that I'd want to talk about.
Well, go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I answered the last question that I was asked, and I didn't have an answer for this one.
No, it's okay, Jeremy. You know what? You're always full of information. I will say you and Candy do a remarkable job on Sundays normally with your own show. And of course, I've listened to the Thursday night show. You two make a great 1-2 punch. I often like to joke around with Jeremy, though. Now, when him and Candy do the show, okay, we call it Candy's Country Club. Okay. When he does it with me, he's back to the meat grinder. But either way, extremely well in either situation that he's exposed to.
So, what year did the Super Bowl winners start visiting the White House?
Would that be like 84?
Close. Any other guesses, guys?
I would say 81 or 82 with Ronald Reagan.
It was actually Jeremy. You want to guess?
1986.
1980. The Pittsburgh Steelers were the first Super Bowl winners to be honored at a visit to the White House. Team met with President Jimmy Carter.
Oh, Jimmy
He waved a terrible towel during the victory ceremony. Has there ever been a year without a Super Bowl?
Every year prior to 1965. And the year of the strike. What year was that? 83, 81?
No, they had a Super Bowl.
You know what? They had one that year. And the
They had
Miami
9 games. They
Dolphins.
started early.
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins took on the Washington Redskins that year, if I remember right.
Yep.
They had a split season, is what they did, Jeremy. And you know what? Guys like Joe Montana were walking the picket line that they couldn't afford to lose game checks. So if anybody thinks you talk about labor for a moment here, okay? The NFL is not a place you want to mess around because they busted that union is what they did.
Well, but they were the real Bears in 87, like Dika said. With the 87 strike.
Here's one for you guys.
Well,
Only one Super Bowl MVP has ever been chosen from the losing team. Who was it and from what team?
Was it from the Cowboys?
It was.
Was that too tall?
I don't know who Too Tall was. Was Too
Too Tall
Tall's
Jones?
name?
Too tall Jones?
Jones.
It
That's
was
what he-
Chuck Howley.
Okay.
okay.
Let's see what else. I need that. Some of these. Has there ever been a shutout in the
No.
Super Bowl?
No.
No.
The closest would have been the Vikings, but no.
Well, I don't
There-
know.
There were
The
3
Rams
games
and the
where they only
Patriots-
scored 3 points. Yes.
Right. Yeah, there might be a lot of teams that scored 3 points. In fact, the Cowboys beat the Dolphins 24-3, and the Patriots ended up beating the Rams 10-3. I don't know about the other
13-3.
points. Those are a couple.
And wasn't there one that was like 55-10, 49ers versus Chargers or something like that?
49ers Broncos.
Broncos, yeah. I knew it was one of them where it was like 55-10.
No, don't worry. Me, I believe the Chargers got smoked 1 year or two by, I believe it was the 49ers. I don't know if it was by that margin.
It definitely won't be tonight, that's for sure.
So far, there have been 7 teams that have won back-to-back Super Bowls. Can we name them?
Patriots,
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Packers? No, not Packers.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Packers. Yes, the Packers, because
I-
they're first too.
I think Dallas and Miami should be added to that. I think the Miami Dolphins,
Yeah.
they're undefeated. season.
Patriots, Packers, Dolphins, Steelers, Cowboys. There's 2 more.
Broncos.
Broncos, and one
Yeah.
more.
No?
It would be
Not
tonight.
yet. I mean, that could happen, but 49ers.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
And now
Okay.
I think-
well,
Y'all, if
what's
Purdy wins the Super Bowl with the 49ers tonight, does that make him closer to Tom Brady than Pat Mahomes does? Because Pat Mahomes was a first-round pick, and Purdy was a late-round pick like Tom
Right.
Brady.
Purdy's in his own league. Let's just be honest. Purdy's in his own league. He just is. And I don't care if he's not Tom Brady. I don't know anything. No one's done this from Mr. Irrelevant. He's in his own element.
I'll say one thing about the Kansas City Chiefs on my Twitter account. There's some of the best. I have some incredible followers with the Kansas City Chiefs on my Twitter account. You give them information, they salivate and they share it. God bless the Chiefs for that. They're
Right.
unbelievable.
So the person who holds the record for the most Super Bowl appearances, and I will give you a hint, not a player, which should give it away.
Say that again. Ask that again. Tell that
The
again.
person who holds the record for the most Super Bowl appearances.
John Madden.
I want to say Bill Belichick.
Correct, Scott.
The reason why I say that is because of what he had done with the Giants before he went to the Patriots under Bill.
He's
Belichick.
appeared
I
in
was also
11
thinking announcers.
He's not an announcer.
Oh, the color commentator. Color.
Now, Bill Belichick ever heard
No,
of
I was
him?
talking John Madden.
Oh, well, John Madden. Well, I mean, that's a different. But he did win a Super Bowl with some incredible players back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he only coached in the league like 10 years, and he had had enough. We all know what he did as an announcer. That goes without saying.
Oh yeah.
Oh, let me think if I can find another one. You guys have been
Yeah.
doing really good.
Well, let's see. Give us one more before we wrap up the broadcast. Go ahead, Candy.
Oh, let me find one quick then. It's got to be a good one though. It can't be just anything. Let's see. No, I've done a lot of these good ones.
Well, let's talk about a couple of cold weather cities that have hosted Super Bowls. I know Detroit had 2, and I know the Minnesota Vikings, I believe.
New
had-
York. New York has.
Yeah, multiple Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit and Minnesota definitely chime in there. Metrodome compared to, and then a new one, the Lions did the same thing.
Yeah, the last time that Foxborough held it, they were like, we're never doing this again, because they had to bring snowblowers out so people could kick field goals.
Yeah, I believe that. Well, you want to bring that up? I'll never forget the time when I was at my first Super Bowl 33, and I had the opportunity to spend time with Ron Meyer, the guy who brought out that guy to go ahead and kick that field goal that beat the Dolphins 3-0. And Don Shula was livid, and Ron Meyer was laughing, and he should. He wouldn't stop winning a 3-0 game, and there was nothing illegal, but
You're talking about the prisoner?
The snowplow. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
am. Snowplow game.
Yeah.
Prisoner. I guess you could say he did some pretty good community service for his area,
yeah.
didn't he? What do you got, Candy?
Oh, we were gonna. Which college has produced the most Super Bowl quarterbacks?
USC.
Cal. 5
Okay.
quarterbacks,
California.
including
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers. Then Alabama and Notre Dame and Purdue.
Well,
There you
Notre
go.
Dame's been around for 75,000 years. I would hope so.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting, though, how he comes up with that one? I don't know who the third one is for Purdue, but I know that Bob Greasy and Drew Brees are 2 of them. And don't sell Purdue short when it comes to producing quarterbacks. They're one of the better quarterback schools out there. I know for a lot of years, Miami Hurricanes, have developed a lot of players, but the Purdue Boilermakers don't laugh at
And
them.
truth, Kyle Orton should have been playing in that game in the Super Bowl.
And you know what? I believe Kyle Orton was the third one, wasn't he?
No, it was Rex Grossman's year. He didn't play.
Oh, was it? Yeah, but I thought, that's right. Okay.
It was Rex Gross. Unfortunately, Rex Grossman's year. That was pathetic. It should have been Kyle Orton.
Okay.
Been saying that forever.
Yeah, but isn't he part of that question that Purdue went out there and you've produced that? Is he the third one on that list, so Candy, that he was in a Super Bowl?
It didn't list the individual people.
Oh, it did.
Just
It
the
just
colleges.
okay.
Yeah, but Orton was at the game. You're right, but
Well, all right.
But-
So there you go.
Scott, I want to go back to you were talking about the use of Roman numerals. It
Yeah.
began with the 5th Super Bowl, and then they added, and then they kept doing it. And the reason why is the Roman numerals were adopted to clarify any confusion that may occur because the NFL championship game, the Super Bowl, is played in the year following a chronologically recorded season. In other words, like the 2020 would cause confusion because while the majority of the season took place in 2020, the actual Super Bowl occurred in 21. So in order to do that, and why else would we have to Google Roman numerals every February?
Interesting.
One more. The Lombardi Trophy, named after former Packers coach Vince Lombardi, is made each year by Tiffany and Company, and it is valued at how much?
is it about 500 grand?
$50,000.
Okay.
And it weighs 7 pounds.
Here's my thing. Well, I got to think the George H. House Trophy for the NFC. When the Bears won, I remember that awesome trophy that they had when they won theirs before they went to the Super Bowl. That little piece of garbage that Purdy was holding. It's like, what? Did they not want the NFC title game one to look better than the Lombardi? Because it looked horrible.
In the last 10 Super Bowls, the team that has scored last has won every time.
There you go. That's a great way to end this broadcast there. So for all you folks that wonder who scores last, that's who your prediction could be. I'm not making a prediction. I don't want to today. All I know is I'm not making a prediction. I hope we've given you folks information. You can draw your own conclusions, both past and present. And you can only hope that this game here turns out to be a classic for sure. And it certainly has the makings of one. There was certainly no shortage of storylines with a Mr. Irrelevant versus a guy like Patrick Mahomes. And when you think about Patrick Mahomes for a minute, he's invested, and I'll mention this on a show later this week, but he owns a piece of the Kansas City Royals, I believe Sporting Kansas City, as well as a bunch of other properties as well. So this guy's not only making it on the field with the Chiefs, but he's a remarkable businessman himself outside the line when it comes to football. Anything you want to add, Jeremy?
No, let's just have a good game this afternoon. I'll be following it by Gamecast. I told you why prior to the show. I don't want to bring everybody down, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, with that said, I'm going to let Candy take us home the rest of the way. So go ahead, Candy.
If you see the little red button down by Jeremy, it's the subscribe button. Please click it. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to Sideline Sports, and subscribe to Jeremy's channel too, Kneecap Biting. Because without all of our, I'm sorry, Jeremy, what were you going to say?
I said
Without all, go ahead.
You said Kneecap Biting, and I said with the Motor City Lions.
With the Motor City Lions. Okay. Because without all of you and without all of the contributors to this show, we wouldn't be here. So we need subscribers to help share us, like us, tell all your friends about us. If you like to listen to podcasts, please subscribe. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, wherever you can get your podcast, that's where we're at. There is a book that Scott wrote, and it is Lessons with the Microphone. Oop, I'm pointing the wrong direction. Sorry. Lessons from the Microphone. Get it on Amazon or Kindle. Come to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. You can see Scott's writing. You can see Jeremy's writing. You can see Jacob's writing. It's been a while.
If I write.
But go see our writing. Go see the pictures that I've taken. We also put all our broadcasts there. We have all kinds of transcripts. We have articles from about a lot of the local colleges down here in South Florida. They send us their content. Go check us out. And if you have ideas for this show or any of our other shows, I mean, we have 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We have Inside the Pigskin. We have Sports Exchange. We have Pundit's Pundit. We have Motor City Mad Mouth Show, which is an interview show that Scott does, one-on-one interviews. We do Fire Up. We do it always on Thursday, and then we do it sometimes on Sundays, Jeremy and I. Let's see. We have Fire Up Wisconsin, Fire Up Michigan, Fire Up Florida. We have No Limits. We have a plethora. Whatever you want, come check out our channel. I think that's all. I think I've hit them all. Scott, did I miss anything?
Oh, you did a great job, Candy. I should point out that next Sunday, folks, I'm going to be making a trip to a special stadium called the Sun Dome in Tampa, the Florida Atlantic University Owls, University of South Florida. What's so special about that place? To me, it's the greatest arena that I've ever been in. Why? Because it's the only arena around the world that I can say that I got my degree in, the University of South Florida. And I will be returning to this venue for the first time in over 30 years. And I'll tell you, I've got chills down my spine now. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when I go back to that arena, a place where I got my college degree, a BA in communication? It seems like yesterday, but boy, it's going to be an unbelievable game. And more importantly, the University of South Florida and Florida Atlantic University are playing great basketball. It's going to be an incredible experience. So, what can I say? I'm looking forward to it. All right. With that said, I'll let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. We'll start off with Jacob.
I am, let's see, 5 days a week, most of the time. I'm also Jake the Pundit and Twitter or X, Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok, and a bunch of different ways, including sometimes movies.
Excellent. All right, Jeremy, go ahead and put it out there.
Well, you can find my writings on the SouthFloridaTribune.com underneath the Motor City Tribune heading, where you can see Candy's pictures, Scott's articles, and also our compatriot that comes on some of these shows, George Eichhorn. Then you can also find me on the South Florida Tribune channel on any of these Fire Up shows and wherever else Scott may need me, because I blend in wherever I can. I'm like a chameleon. Then you can find me on my channel, which is Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions, which has been picked up by the Facebook group, the Villain Squad Network, which is now over 44,000 strong for Lions fans. You can also find me on Smokin' Jeremy B1 on Insta, Smokin' Jeremy on Twitter, and you can also find me at Jeremy Bulrick on LinkedIn.
I'll tell you one thing, Jeremy, I want to thank you very much for helping us on social media, you and Jacob and Chris. I'm going to say one thing about both of you two guys, and I really say this because I know it in my mind. I've been around a lot of young broadcasters, young and old, and the thing that I'm proud about you two, Jeremy and Jacob, is you're two of the most coachable people I've ever worked with in over 40 years in this industry. You guys have a long way to go, but you've come a long way. Keep up the good work, both of you. as far as I'm concerned, your better days are ahead of you. They really are. And it's great that we have an opportunity on Super Bowl Sunday to work with a super crew that I have between you, Jeremy, Candy, and Jacob. And for me to be a part of the show with you guys today, it's been a lot of fun. You never know when we'll see this combination again. Depends on how many chicken wings I've had and how much caffeine, but boy, it's been a whole lot of fun today. Unquestionably the biggest sporting event day of the year. So on behalf of Candy Ebling, Jacob Krister, Jeremy Ballrick, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on the Fire Up Super Bowl edition, and we will catch you during the week with all of our program. Good night and good day, everybody. Have a wonderful Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep.